new business in the agenda. I can't remember if it was forwarded to the group earlier, but there is an article about from the Herald Times about the Hopewell space that was formerly a fuel station, and it turns out that it was not remediated properly or at all. That is going to need a cleanup before they can proceed with, or it's going to be addressed before they can proceed with the next steps. I think Dave shared the article, but I would love. Oh, well, Mitchell, yes, Dave, but Mitchell, do you have anything you want to share about this?
Yeah, I think it was just something that I stumbled across, like this article, just found purely because it like showed up on one of my algorithmic feeds. But it seemed like something that is firmly in our purview of like advisory and stuff we should know about. So I wanted to make sure we knew about it. But yeah, the big thing was just the like, at least based on the article and what the hiding folks were saying, it doesn't seem like a huge deal, but it's definitely something we still want to keep on the radar. Sure, is mitigated properly. And I don't know if there's anything like from the city end we could reach out and just be like, hey, you want to loop us in on this or anything? Or because this is one of those spaces where I can see like, again, it's in our purview, so we want to make sure that they know that we're keeping an eye out on this stuff and would like to be involved in it.
Yeah.
So that they do that.
I think that's a great idea, and I would love to hear if you all have thoughts. But a couple things that stood out to me are one, the city's not selected a strategy to eliminate the contamination, so it does seem like there's room for us to write a letter recommending, the fullest extent or whatever extent it is that we would like to. I don't remember if there was an actual timeline mentioned as far as when they're taking the next steps, but that might be something we talk about. Is do we want to write a letter with our recommendation? Do we want to take it to a council meeting just as a public comment? And then to your point, Mitchell, is this something where kind of in the old ECPC days, do we want to ask if we can get a tour of the site? Do we want to ask if we can, be in the loop on, are they actively, sampling along the way? They talk a little bit about kind of the expectation that it shouldn't be an issue with the way that the foundations are poured and stuff like that. But is there anything that we want to put in place for a long-term? We have our eyes on this. It matters to us and it matters to Bloomington and, environmental quality in general. So I don't know. What do you all think about some of those different ideas or what we might want to do?
I think reaching out to someone to try to stay in the loop, at least.
Right.
Yeah, in the loop sounds good. I'm not terribly concerned personally. It's not like they're hiding from it or denying it or anything. It just seemed like early news. I didn't see it until I looked at the packet today. So I was a fresh read, but I don't see anything, like controversial reactions or anything at this time. So information sharing would be cool, but at this time, I don't feel like we need to pressure them to do anything. Or I'm definitely not an expert enough on, arsenic or anything else to say this is the way I want it to be remediated. So I'm perfectly happy in kind of wait and see mode, but also, hey, if you want to keep us in the loop, that'd be great.
Yeah, I think the big concern for me is making sure it's like us on the EC don't have to like stumble on news like this happening. Like if we get in the loop now, hopefully that means we'll stay in the loop ongoing.
Yeah, I think that sounds good. I know they've mentioned that the engineer, the CEO of VEP said that it seems like the forces at play want to do the right thing, want to make sure everyone is safe and healthy and everything like that, and that the ground is healthy and everything, that planting will survive and humans are all right. So I think in theory there should be a lot of pressure.
Yeah,
you did.
I did appreciate it. It's all being like, oh, they're trying to do the right thing.
Super weird and unfamiliar. Okay. Do you folks feel like it would make sense for, I guess maybe the next step just to be to kind of explore, and Rachel, you probably know who it would be, we could ask about to sort of, can we stay in the loop? Is there somebody who can come and give us a chat when they have made a decision, or how do we make sure that we are asking good questions to make sure that we are making progress and it has the best interest of all?
Thursday.
Okay.
Yeah, especially because the concerns seem to be primarily at least based on the article, with environmental health rather than with like soil quality.
Right, yeah.
So that we'll just have it. Like this is the nationwide. And again, I don't know enough about how this is managed, but yeah, I think it would just be good to know what's going on.
Brownfields are under my purview, and the HT article is also my first time hearing about the contamination. So I will do. I mean, Anna Colleen Hansen, the director of CAN, was quoted, so I don't know if she is kind of taking charge on this, but I know my supervisor, Becky Scanlon, goes to football meetings frequently. So I will ask Jackie who the best person to be.
Be great if it was you.
Turn the microphone.
You also should be cast in the loop.
The best things about articles. We're like, oh.
Oh, okay.
I think that sounds good. Do folks feel good about that? Is there anything else, any other discussion people want to have about this?
I was just surprised to find out that the soil in southern Indiana just kind of has a little arsenic in it.
It's a common thing across the US. It's a difficult thing for like water quality standards because you don't want arsenic in the water, but there's just arsenic.
All right, well, sounds good. Rachel, thanks in advance for nudging this along. All right, well, if we're all comfortable with that conversation, I would say we'll go ahead and move to new business number 2, or part B, as it were, which is the annual slides. Okay, so this is something, it's in the packet, it's printed out on those pieces of paper. What I would love to do is just flip through this and have y'all shout out anything you would like to see different. I'm missing some faces, so I would love to have your face. And if you don't share your face with me, I will find it on the internet. So that's your choice.
I'm making a note right.
I think of some pictures from each. Like, yeah. So yeah, so I'll reach out to the other Adam and Nadia and Casey as well. But basically, yes, this is meant to be a recap of last year. So I tried to really not involve a lot of this year's stuff, even though it feels weird that we're in the middle of the year and only doing a 18 months ago review. But that's the goal of all this. So you're all comfortable with that slide. This is our new mission statement, which actually I don't know if it's I think this the header's the old one, but new mission statement, which is exciting. And then on the next slide, I have our priorities that we established for 2024, which are what we said in the last presentation we were planning on. So this is just all the same stuff that we had committed to. So it's not really anything we need to do too much on. And then this next slide is a just zooming in a little bit more on the biodiversity specific one, and then I break down those bullet points. So on the next slide, we have the outreach and activity stuff. So in 2024, we did Bug Fest, we did Grandview STEM Night, and we also did the Eco Heroes. Do y'all remember if in 2024 we did anything else? I don't think we did. I don't think we.
Memory's not that good.
Maybe the Master Gardener Fair or something like that. Okay, well, I'm just gonna, unless.
I think we skipped a year on that.
Yeah, I think we may have. Okay, well then nobody's shouting it out with a lot of heartfelt concern, and let's go ahead and go to the next slide, which is the Eco Hero specific one. These are the stats from. These are the stats from last year. We're gonna keep them because I think that's what they were. And then that was the theme. Those are photos from last year. So outreach activities, engage with other organizations in the city, the community, and university and overlapping interests. So these are not the way I would say it, but basically we started to talk about E-City at the end of the year. We wrote a letter for the urban forester. I'll look up the details of what that was, but we were supposed to
That's a grant, I think.
Yeah, I think it's a grant. Indiana, we wrote the letter of support for you all. I don't know if you want me to name you, like finding to have that in our presentation, or if you just rather me keep it vague, but I'm happy to do either.
I will ask.
Okay.
It's not just me.
Right, yeah. Okay, well, I will follow up and you can send me a photo. But are there other things that we did that would be useful to put on this list of ways that we engage with things beyond our table? I mean, like the I can't remember the name of the farm educational farm that came and talked to us.
Mm.
Some folks went and did like a visit and things like that. We didn't really go anywhere with that though. So I can mention that kind of like consideration of, but it's all. I mean, I was not one of the people who attended, so I'm not sure if it's felt significant enough.
Was 2024 the year that we did that? um, I still can't remember the name, the big 140 acre development where people did the walkthrough.
Oh yeah, this.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, there's not sticking in my mind.
It's called Summit now.
Yeah, I remember we did have a whole meeting that was contentious.
But so I think some people actually went and did a.
Yeah, like the sun.
And there was is it ERAC? Is it, we had a subcommittee meeting downstairs.
Was it the ECPC one?
Yeah, talking about that, I think.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm. So do you want me to include that in here? That there was, I can't remember, I assume we wrote, I don't know if we wrote a memo or a letter about it specifically. I can't remember if Linda did something with that because it was so
We could,
conversational.
Yeah.
I mean, it is a thing that happened. I don't know if it's a thing that falls under 24 priorities or anything.
I feel like
But yeah, it was something I definitely gave feedback on because
And there were a lot of people at that meeting.
there were a lot of people at that meeting, but I remember also like in just like a different meeting we talked about like definitely wanting to follow up like the car studies and
Mhm.
that kind of.
The whole thing was on kind of a 10-year plan, so it was
Yeah.
we didn't want to hurry up and wait.
Mhm. Do you want me to include something about that in sort of the ways that we engage with the community?
I think
yeah,
that-
I feel
those were, like,
but we
that
had
was
some energy spent on that, if
Yeah.
not,
Yeah, it
like,
doesn't hurt.
even if
the
nothing.
very least was like us in our advisory capacity in some form.
Okay, so it's summit. Um,
Advisory discussion.
yeah, that's
Mhm.
let's see.
Because that would also be the same as like the stream buffer discussion was also like an advisory thing.
Advisory. Do you want me to put the, so I put, actually, I think I put the
I think you did.
recording buffer somewhere in here.
Okay.
I think, if not, I'll circle back and add it.
Yeah, I think it was just under a different because this is like your outreach and
Mm-hmm.
activities. So I think it was just on a
Yeah.
different slide.
Yeah, I think it was some of our 2024 priorities to get that in the video. Okay, well, if that works for folks, then I'll move to the next one. Okay, so the climate, so support general mention for the city of Bloomington climate action plan. So I would love to hear from this group, if nothing else, on how we did that. I know what I think it might have looked like, but I think Matt called it maybe the final word on exactly what we did.
No, I mean, I remember we kind of reviewed the climate action plan and prepared questions, and Sean presented to us. But it was kind of limited to what was presented, so the preparing questions didn't really really go anywhere. Didn't really have an impact on that. We were just kind of being filled in on what the city has done and their dashboard for keeping up to date.
Yeah, something like that. Do you want to talk about the heat mapping and all of that stuff in the same breath?
I mean, it might as well be mentioned because indeed these types of things, it's not, you know, padding a resume, but it's demonstrating that these were things we were involved in.
It needs to go into, I don't think it needs to go into a separate category.
Yeah,
no.
And yeah, that's something like I don't know if we got our names in the final report, but it's something we did a lot of help and work. with.
Like help coordinate locations.
Right, we helped plan locations and
Install.
some of them were used, some of them called inaudible. But then yeah, I was along for a lot of the actual placing of the monitors. At least half of them, I think, but not all of them.
What were those called? E-sensors?
You know,
There's like a funny word. I'll look it up. But yeah, sensors. To collect data for heat mapping study. I'll make sure I use the right language on that too. Okay. And did you do the driving
That
around
one
too?
wasn't- No, so that one actually wasn't a part of the heat mapping exactly. That was a subsequent, like they did their heat mapping and then had a very quick turnaround for the monitors. So it was really just like collecting particulate matter data. There was no, yeah, there was no temperature aspect of the stationary air quality monitoring. That was just a part of the drive along one that had a heat island component.
I misremembered that. Okay. Does that look okay to you, Matt and team?
Yeah.
Great. Is there anything else that you all would like me to add when it comes to the talking about the climate action stuff? I mean, I can add something like something about like maintaining the relationship with the ESD to I don't know provide input or exchanges of some sort on the dashboard. I know that was mainly what Sean said is like the dashboard has everything. So look at the dashboard. Okay, I'll just say
Seems like an adequate summary of our involvement.
to questions and is it 2-4 to say promote kind of dashboard? Is that what it's called? I'm gonna say that. That makes us run on the same team. Does that work for you all? Anything you'd rather I say?
It's good.
Wonderful. Okay. Oh, so we have a couple things that we did as far as like actually talking to folks. In the news, I don't
I mean, Dave Askins was here during that summit meeting and did write about. It wasn't exactly about us, but it was all still centered around this meeting because we had planners here and a council member here and
that was B Square, right? Space. Vertical.
yeah, so we'd have to find it. I just remember that was covered.
Supposed to have whatever month that was. Let's see meeting. Okay.
Yeah, he's got all this stuff archived, so we should be able to locate it if we want to.
Awesome.
Did we write any op-eds last year?
Did what?
Did we have any op-eds last year?
I think we tried and they didn't publish it. What's that?
Oh yeah, we had one that
Familiar.
they didn't get out on time. And I can't remember what it was for, but it was about a specific.
It was I think it was the slope gradient bill from the legislature, the state that was.
And since it was coming from us as a commission instead of just from one individual, we had to kind of do our due diligence before getting it out there, and they didn't get it published in a window that would have mattered. So we just said, pull it. So it would have been in there.
Did we send it? It just didn't.
I think we did send that.
Yeah, you can go.
What was
There was a bill last year that was real bad from the state legislature. That was basically preventing local governments from preventing people from developing on high gradient areas in water supply watersheds. It was something that only applied to lake.
nice?
So,
It's like the state law was like a 25% grade or something, and then we had one that narrowed it, and they basically said you can't.
Yes.
You can't override the state.
Yeah.
It was House Bill 1103.
That's great.
And we can't prohibit development on slopes less than 25%.
Yep.
Is there anything else that you all want to include in reflections on last year's presents?
I think it looks pretty good.
Great. Okay, this is my favorite slide. This is the one that I'm really excited to make sure we lean on as much as we want. What's going well for the Environmental Commission? I came up with a few ideas, but they may not be the greatest ideas. Maybe we change it. I also came up with some challenges that I would like to elaborate on a little bit more. So what's going well? I said communication and collaboration across partners. So there have been different groups that we've worked with, whether it's for, a tabling event or for Earth Day or for, trying to help the climate action plan stuff. I think we have a good rapport with a lot of different groups and we have people who are interested in supporting us and we support them. Enthusiasm for long-term projects and initiatives. I think our commission itself actually really does seem committed to the work that we're trying to do and really thinking about how we are putting our time and energy into stuff. And it's a positive response from the community. The different things that we've done have either had positive engagement or, we get good questions and we have people joining from time to time. Is there anything else that you would like me to add to the going well list? I have no idea.
It's like some way of indicating that we are getting out there, that we're attending things, we're tabling in places. I don't know how you want to say that, but
Yeah. Is there anything else that you would like me to include that would be for like what's going well for us?
the highlights.
Sorry?
Yes, I think you hit the highlights.
The previous slide was showing. So did we decide the bill was about slopes?
Yeah.
Developing on that.
Good, great.
Yeah.
I was just looking back. I'm pretty sure it was a wetland protection bill.
Oh, that might have been it too, because that was also going through.
That was
last year.
so fast. That was like the
Yeah,
fastest.
I can't actually find the column, but
Okay.
I found the exchange about it.
Okay.
That makes sense. Yeah, because that was also last year and also.
It's
before
an
that.
and then?
Yeah, it's and Krona was the one who did it. Yeah, so it's
Yeah.
House Bill 1383. Yeah.
And what? Ugh. Yeah. Thank you for looking that up. That one is good.
Yeah.
Okay. Excellent. Thank you for that. Okay. Well, what are the challenges for the EC specifically moving into 2025, which we already know has been a rougher year? I said complex and inefficient changes to communication. We've talked about that a lot. I'm not entirely certain how much I'm going to elaborate that on this in the council meeting, but I think I would probably talk for a second or two about how it's really impacted our ability to, gather and things like that. And I have an additional thought to add to this, which will be in the next slide. But as I have general engagement during challenging times, I think that is something that the entire country is seeing, is that it's a tough time right now and people don't have a lot of extra time or energy or resources that they can contribute. And I think that that's something that is important for us to acknowledge going to the however long it is. And vacancies. It'd be amazing if we had all the seats filled. I don't know if we've got any more considerations, if we have any interested parties, but obviously when we have a few absences, it really does impact the meetings, our effectiveness, all of that. But yeah,
I don't know if this is something we can put up there, but well, but just changing at the sort of national and state level, changing sort of legislation standards about environmental protection.
Yeah, that's
But
definitely.
I think that's just a sort of psychological as well as like,
Definitely building on like the op-ed thing we wrote. We try and advise and set standards here and then get our knees cut out from under us.
yeah, I mean,
Pairs very well with the general engagement during challenging
Mhm.
times.
and I can elaborate on that too.
well, legislation and also like fiscal financial support. Not that it's currently directly affecting us, but the things that we care about, it's currently affecting.
I'm saying, like regulations, government bodies, funding,
Mhm.
and general trickle down to our community. Because it is
General ontological despair.
I think that's a really good point. Are there other thoughts on what our challenges for this year look to be?
Last year or this year?
It's looking into 2025.
Got it.
Maybe last year too, but the reason I'm putting this up here is because, oh, you know, maybe I guess I'm gonna continue to keep it where it is. But I was gonna preview slide 13 because my goal is to have a slide because they asked last time, and I definitely have some thoughts now.
Mhm.
How can you help? How can the city council help support the environmental commission? And I really, really want to make sure that we have some solutions, particularly when we think about that list of challenges of like the communication success. So what do we have any ideas? I have like one idea. It's gonna get declined, but like, do we have ways that we can say, yes, this is difficult and certain things may help us get out, and the council has massive power. So thinking through that. My plan would be to have this slide be after I just breeze over what we're planning for this year. So we can do that, and you can let me know if you think it belongs in a different spot. Maybe the good and bad slide goes later on, I don't know. But the next thing I talk about is the long term. So we in our planning meeting in November, we talked about like long term priorities and then also year specific goals. So when we talked about 3 to 5 years, some of the things we talked about were just kind of our internal structure and communication, some of the stuff we didn't anticipate, but also, yeah, how we assess our working groups, the fact that we are trying to more actively incorporate social media as we're able to, and also the commissioner onboarding process and making sure people are getting up to speed and getting involved quickly. And then the other one was supporting activities and communications. So these were like 3 to 5 years. So we're not talking about this year. We're just saying keeping it on our radar, moving towards it is workshops or trainings by or for the EC. We talked about potentially if we have budget to bring someone in to teach us something, talk to us. We've got some stuff we're talking about that maybe none of us are experts in, and that's okay. Or is there anything that we are experts in that we do want to offer a training on, and maybe we use our monthly meeting to share that, and we make sure to invite the public and say, we've got somebody who's going to be talking about this specialty, but understanding that there's more we can learn and share. We talked about a water quality report kind of down the line. We talked about the supporting the stream inventory to keep an eye on what's happening with as the riparian buffer status have shifted. So that's something that again is a little bit further down the road. Then pursue city certifications that promote commitment to Bloomington environmental quality. Again, we talked about B City. We've talked about maybe dark city.
Dark sky.
But yeah, some of those things are just bigger strokes that how we are improving ourselves and the city.
Would grants be something good to put in there since that's something that we're like trying to
Yeah.
look at and actively pursue?
So I wonder if that would go under. I wonder, do you think it would go under our internal stuff or would it be an external?
It's like a supporting activity of like looking for funding to support things with this, like support city environmental activities, infrastructure, whatever it ends up being.
Resources for Bloomington.
I have an idea, but it's for it's for up here. It's what we could do. Not time for
Do you want to share? So that
question, I guess. Maybe for Rachel, but also for the rest of you. Does the city run like a regular series of like we learn? I mean, this goes along with the workshop, I think, but like learn about what happens to your water in Bloomington after you flush it down the toilet, or learn about. I mean, just sort of like different aspects. Yeah, are there like events, informal talks that people can show up to and just learn about like these various aspects of and the environment and well water quality environment
My impression is
in
that
the city.
my impression is that there actually are those
I-
department by department, but kind of like
Not any.
yeah, not maybe not coordinated at a city level where it's like here's all the things you can learn about Bloomington. Here's all the different departments popping up with their because I'm sure utilities does stuff. I'm sure that parks does types of stuff.
Yeah,
That's-
it's something
yeah.
where we could be a central repository for parks, utilities, all those different groups. And like, here's all the
Mm.
environmental
I just.
agencies, all the environmental related agencies in the city. And here's what they're doing.
And I think,
And that would also give us an opportunity to be like, oh, we know here are all the different groups doing this stuff. Here's what's going on. Here's what groups or what topics aren't being covered. Hey, you guys want to, and just start nudging people into filling the gaps.
if I had more energy, that's the kind of thing I would love to coordinate.
No shortage of ideas. I was like, so much to do. Okay.
But I'm glad it does make sense that it's already happening as well.
But I think that's a good point, though, is like being mindful of the fact that if it is happening, is there any way that we can help either coordinate
that's
it
like-
or post it or show up for it or
Especially if we're talking about like establishing a social media strategy, this would be good stuff to put in those
oh,
posts.
really good idea. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna make a note in my notes to do a little digging on that. Into department educational series. Okay. So that's the long-term priorities. Is there anything else that I didn't mention that you are like, no, you forgot this, but I did pull it from minutes, but maybe I missed something. Okay, great. Then the next slide is the Buster slide. This is actually what we identified as our goals for the year. In parentheses, I put the sort of dominant working group that would be associated with it because I think that that's important that we're connecting our dots. But this is the list that I have. I'm going to read the whole thing. I don't know that it's necessary, but I would love to hear your thoughts on A, if I'm missing anything, but B, if there's anything you want me to make sure I call out, like by name when I have this slide up.
Should we have the habitat connectivity plan on here, or is that like? Is it? I'm not seeing it.
We were trying to release the map.
Oh yeah,
There's some.
maybe that was from the previous slide.
I mean, I know that's not like really us exactly, but
It's fun to
Oh.
goal. I mean,
yeah, getting it updated is.
Yeah, and you know what? Actually, that's something I skimmed over. Can you go back to slide 4, please? Yeah. So I think I maybe adapted the language a little bit, but in talking about what we did in 2024 and probably a little in 2025, continue to promote habitat connectivity plan while taking steps to improve its functionality and user experience. That is true, and I think that what we really landed on was we need to kind of go about it a little bit differently. But the other 2 points are extend focus to pollinators and native plants and create and update and collect additional educational materials.
the word plan should be replaced with map.
Oh.
If that's what,
Yeah.
because the other is just a report and it's,
Okay.
yeah, it's not in flux.
Okay. And then extend focus to pollinators and native plants. That was part of our biodiversity working group. We did start talking about Bee City. We did make it pollinators and native insects our eco-heroes theme. So did not do that.
Right. I think though, Shannon mentioning the re-release of the map on the busy slide full of 25 priorities I think it is a good idea.
Okay.
Even if you aren't going to try to really paint an exhaustive picture during that part of the presentation, this will be in their packet. They'll be able to look at these and have, ask questions if they have them. So I think just throwing it all on there is a good idea personally.
It's updated.
So release an updated map. Yeah. Okay, that's a good call. I definitely didn't want to gloss over too fast. But a quick note, we redid at least one brochure last year, right? Do you all remember?
I think that was a pollinator one, right?
Was it? I can't remember how much we.
Natural landscaping one.
Was that? Nice, okay. Landscaping. Great. Okay, thank you for letting me take that detour. I totally forgot that I skipped over that. Okay. Great, thanks. Okay, back to the busy slide. So these are all the different things that I have on here. This is what our goal is for the year. Is there anything that now that you're looking at it seems nuts or inaccurate?
I mean, ECPC is sort of defunct. So the pursue projects to work on in collaboration with planning department is suddenly kind of abstract.
Yeah, and I think that the plan was that Rachel would just let us know when there's any development that would make sense for us to weigh in on. What's tricky is like the ECPC is kind of defunct, you're right. So, but it's more of like,
So we're still
do we still keep it in there though, because we're talking about the Hopewell and stuff like that? Like, does that,
Mhm.
do we nest that kind of under? Because it is, I mean, as much as it's about environmental health and exposure, it's like, I think it's kind of a planning conversation at this point.
Yeah, just kind of consider it more of an ad hoc thing. than a
Uh-huh.
standard.
right. It's kind of reactive instead of pursuing.
Yeah, I think,
But yeah, it is still a thing.
do you want me to, would you all feel more comfortable with different language than pursue? Because you're right, pursue is active.
Right.
Versus respond to, really.
Again, for the sake of your report, I don't think there's a problem with the way you have it on there. It's just making sure we kind of
Fair point.
we discuss the reality of it in case they have follow up.
No, I appreciate that.
You could just say collaborate with, I mean, you have that in several other places. Collaborate when useful or when needed with planning department. But
Yeah,
also
they
like-
collaborate with planning department on relevant projects.
that also buys some space.
Say, what could you say, work with the planning department? Project.
Sure.
Work with, it's so positive. Okay, are there any other thoughts on this one? This is kind of the heaviest one. Nothing great, okay. So, okay, so how can we help? The council's gonna say, what do you need from us? What do I need from you? Knowing all the things that we're working on, knowing how things are going, this is gonna jot things down, this next building.
If we have applicants that they kind of hustle with their interview committees, just so that we get members faster.
Okay.
It's an if, it's not a judgment on what happens. I don't have access to that.
I was gonna say, do we know if our openings are
We don't.
council or mayoral?
These things,
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It is just a thing they can do that if there are applications in there to say, oh, let's check them.
Probably also on expediency, like making sure we have a clean and like know what the process we need to go through for like the B city stuff, or if we're going through other things where we need like council approval, like making sure they know they have things coming, we know what we need to do to get it to them, and that they do it quickly. So I think at least some of them know we have stuff coming towards them occasionally, but just like, so all of them.
Yeah, I'm not looking at that as a criticism because I think they are reacting appropriately. It is just generally speaking a thing that helps us.
Mhm.
Yeah, so
I will say Isabel has spoke to me a couple of times about my city, so
it's
that's
just
really, just make sure you cover that, like we're still working on it, just
Yeah.
like this early.
For sure. And I do think that it's a good point that this is not necessarily because it's a criticism, it's more of like,
right.
just, the faster that interviews happen and can get to the commission, that's filling up our spaces, that's great. making sure that we understand the processes, that that's communicated both ways is great. So
Yeah.
And I know Isabel's ready. I know they're waiting on us in that regard. But we are kind of stymied by open door law. We're trying, but there are hurdles we have to clear that they don't have to because they have city emails and they could just have their stuff audited at the time.
okay, so this is my thing. I would say this as one of my suggestions. Communication, open door law, we are following it as thoroughly as we possibly can. And I would be shocked if all of the other bodies are following it as thoroughly, but we are working very hard to do everything by the letter. One of the hardest parts is that we cannot communicate digitally about information. We have to meet. That requires the privilege of time, money, childcare, jobs being aligned that we can all get together. That's really hard to do. And it's really difficult to have to put everything through our liaison because that's extra work for her to do. That's more back and forth. And again, that requires a lot of flexibility and privilege on behalf of people on the EC, which we would hate for that to be a barrier for someone to be a commissioner. If we had city email addresses to communicate with each other as Commissioner 1, Environmental Commissioner 2, to communicate directly with each other in a way that is public and able to be reviewed at any time, we would be able to move more quickly.
Or honestly, even want another email address. So if there was a thing I could send that said I'm perfectly happy to turn over.
Oh,
my-
Not perfectly, no.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, a city email would also help with like the eco heroes, like donations, those
Yeah.
things.
but like I want them to hear that we are
This
just
is really hard. And I do think that not every commission is doing it as by the book.
And I don't
Um,
have any confirmation of that, but I know how hard we're working and I know how present it is for me in our processes. And I don't experience a lot of, I'm not feeling it from others that
I watched a meeting on Tuesday where it seemed to be indicated that they were still emailing each other. So
And it's hard because it's like I know that it being difficult for us and us making it harder for all the other commissions doesn't actually improve anything for anybody. It's what can we do to make it less challenging and less obstructive to our process because we really want to be doing this stuff. And so
Yeah.
people make a bit of a silly
we've set
pitch there, but
we've set what feels like a reasonable number of goals, and now we're having just great difficulty getting anything done because we're not allowed to communicate
Yep.
outside of meetings, which some of that's on us. We need to schedule more meetings, but it's hard to not be able to just bounce a thought off of somebody to not send out an email that technically counts as giving information.
Or workshop an op-ed or
Mhm.
just
Yeah.
anything before.
And I know that there are technically ways we can do it, but it is just so obstructive to our workflow, to our liaison's ability to do her job, and to all of us who don't have the flexibility to drop everything and meet all the time. It's just not. It's not. I was going to say fair, and I know that not everything's fair, but like it is not an equitable approach to serving our city. So
Yeah.
that's my little fussy stand.
I think that's a good way to phrase it. Is that the current part on the equitable way?
Privilege if I have a job that I can leave for an hour for a meeting randomly, or I can go in the evenings and not have to care for my kids because I'm a parent who's the sole child care. Like it totally is. I don't have children. But if I did, I'd be super mad. No. What the commission can help do. I genuinely would love to give them more that we need from them, but I don't know what it is.
It's kind of in the same vein as the process for the book. I think anything like pollution related is probably gonna require council somehow, but I don't know anything
Mhm.
concrete yet, so I don't know if it's worth mentioning.
So, a couple thoughts on that. We could, so let me say upcoming initiatives. I'm gonna put B City, and I know that they're gonna be like, "We're waiting on you." I'm like, I know, but it is current. It's not true.
June 2nd, is that right?
Today, first week of June. Dark sky.
Hmm.
But I do think that saying we have some initiatives coming up, we will be talking about them. So I think the question is like, is there anything that we want to like be sharing with them that we want to have them read or learn or like invite them to the June 26th meeting or like anything that we want to do like to put our kind of finger on the point of the whole thing of like come learn, we'd love to share or be open to our proposal. Is there any specific call to action we to assign to that or just say it's coming and we're going to need your input and support on it?
It's fine. Because I
Maybe-
think we have our processes and I think we have our, anything that breaks down barriers to our ability to do this volunteer work. I think we've got it pretty well covered.
We can maybe like link to the dark sky side or like one of their little pamphlets or something.
Okay.
I think the only
Yeah,
other
it's
thing I can
technically-
think of is just like an open invitation if they have environmental stuff, just like they can come. I think for the 2 years that I've been here, it's just the one meeting where Dave Rollo showed up and talked a lot. Is the only time we've had a commissioner or counselor in here.
Yeah, I think the time that's not a coincidence.
But,
So an open invitation.
yeah, if they have environmental stuff, we want to work with them. On stuff we don't want. I don't. It would be fun if it wasn't just us sending them things to do.
Okay, does that work okay?
Mhm.
Okay, if you have any other thoughts on that, feel free to send them to Rachel and Rachel will send them to me. It'll be great. But that's really so my thought was that that would be the closing slide. Do you think it would be beneficial for me to take that slide number 10, the one that says what's going well, what are our challenges, and move that to right before here's what we need from you? Before it was like, here's what's going well, here's what our challenges are, here's what we're planning specifically for the new year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think talking about the goals and then talking about like what's going well, what's challenging, makes sense.
Cool. Okay, so it would go like the 2024 wrapping up all the priority comments and then long-term priorities, 2025 goals. What's going well? How can you help? And then I think I'll probably put another slide up of our faces for 2025. Yeah. If you have a picture that you'd rather me use than the one I have, feel free to send it to me, but I will scour the internet until I get all of your faces covered. So anything else for this? I know this was kind of a long talk, but any other thoughts on that?
It looks great.
Thank you. And I try to commit all this stuff to memory, but there's so much going on. I really appreciate everyone's feedback. Okay.
Did you want anyone to go to the meeting with you?
I was there, I was like maybe 20 minutes, half hour into it, and I felt rude leaving, and I was there for like 3 minutes. I was like, I'm tired, I have to leave.
People, they,
People leave all the time.
Like, if you suck or you feel too guilty to go. If you are interested in going, I can't remember what's the date of it? What
first Wednesday.
It says June 4th on our.
Yeah. The agenda.
Whatchamacallit, agenda.
Okay. June 4th. Oh yeah, it's on my calendar. It's on June 4th. So if you would like to join, I have no I probably feel comforted by that. Maybe I feel more nervous representing all of you in front of you to your faces, not just on video. But yeah, if you'd like to join, that'd be great. And if they ask questions, I can call you up to the podium.
I think they try to put the annual reports near the beginning of the meeting, so there's not the expectation.
Really hard. I can never see next to me. It's like, cool. But yeah, thank you everybody for your feedback on this. I will do my best to represent you all well, and yeah, I'll send you the final deck here next, please. Okay. Having said that, now we're just on to the working group updates. So we've got a few different items on here. I'm gonna turn it over to Team Light Pollution.
We don't have anything, but I'm going to reach out in the next week or two, probably see if we want to get a meeting set up.
Awesome.
Expressed interest as well, right? So there's
Yeah.
3 of us now, then
Double options. Yes. Biodiversity working group.
So we didn't meet, but we're planning to meet. Sarah, you can report if you want. I reached out to B City to see what the funds go to because that was something that was kind of holding us up. Not that we couldn't afford it, but that we wanted to know what it was going for. And they said that the application fee and renewal fees cover a percentage of the cost of their running the program. And they reminded me that for the fee we get, and there's a long list of welcome package, books, habitat sign, outreach materials, access to training, access to a whole bunch of affiliate stuff. Basically made it clear that there's a whole lot that goes into this and that this, pays for a share of it. They also said that if it is a barrier to participation, there are ways to get it waived because they do still want people to participate. So there's a waiver that would have to be done if that was the case. But it was enough information that brought me comfort in moving forward with the thing. So I think we can funds, and if there ever is a year where we say, "Ooh, now it's really tight," well, we'll know that there's a form to try to waive that.
And what's interesting is I wonder if there is a part of our participation that helps offset for those who do need to use the waiver or something like that.
Maybe.
Did they say, so they said a percentage went toward, all of the materials and things they give us. And I will say that,
Yeah.
you've probably been getting used to.
Running B City.
Yeah, they're constantly sending out stuff. Like just information, like for Pollinator Week coming up, all these videos and things you can do. And
I think that brochure she could print out too.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna say, is that coming to?
I'm getting it because of the bee campus.
So we should, yeah. I mean, I will blow up everyone's email, but it would be really helpful to kind of have all that stuff circulating.
Or can I forward
Yes. To Rachel.
to Rachel?
Yeah.
already did it.
The same one, so I don't know if I get them. I mean, it's like 2 or 3 times a week sometimes. Do you guys want that often, or do you
I
want
don't
like
think we're doing it quite that much. I think it's like once a week.
city campus? Then
Is
I can do like what I think you guys would like.
Yeah.
Would that be fair?
I think that'd be
Okay.
If when we actually follow through with the city one, it would be nice to see those things. But
It would also be nice to know if you are getting city, because I think I told you I tried to fill it out. And it told me that we were already in the system or something.
Maybe I'm exaggerating. Maybe it is once a week. I don't see it like. Yeah.
And is that something that only happens because is it a newsletter you're signed up for, or is it because we've got an application started?
I signed up for the newsletter when Corinna first mentioned it,
Okay.
last fall.
Okay.
When I was first introduced to it. I just signed up for it on my own, but then I'm also getting the campus stuff.
Okay.
Because you're probably listed on the.
Yeah.
So I'm getting it kind of listed on the committee for the campus. Maybe you are too.
I think Tangible has included me. I can say it's listed to my former email address, so I think that was a hint that I did sign up for something.
Maybe you're getting more than me, because I haven't signed up for emails, but I'm getting the campus. So what I was going to ask is, so they do send us a lot of stuff. Some of it looks to be useful. But so a percentage of it goes down in the program. Did they say what the other percentage?
no, they expressed that it goes to a percentage of running the program, as in running the program is not more expensive than
Like
the amount of time they collect. So yeah, they didn't give me any specific numbers. They just made it sound like you're getting more than what you pay for.
Basically with the Miranda programs, yeah, like the website, the like tech support, the person reviewing the application.
That is where it is all going.
Yeah. And then the extra money is like for materials and research and printing or whatever it is. Will we be getting things in the mail, like tangible items?
I'm sure right off the bat something with the sign, and I think there's like booklets or something. But as far as regularly, I have no idea.
Is our address planning and parks? Do you know? I know that
Bloomington.
the mailing address, if we're getting
Oh.
an application, if we're gonna get things in the mail.
Say the city would be for the Parks Department.
Okay.
Joanna Sparks is leading up the city.
Okay. So we could just kind of stay in touch and like, what are you getting? What's this stuff? How do we
Yeah.
wanna
So
do something
with
with that?
with that info, we should try to plan to have the meeting with Isabel and other city folks. Again, I'm fine with either of us doing it, but I'm I feel more comfortable with moving forward with BC now that I have an answer to what the funds do.
For pushing them on that. That's always such a strange question to ask. And obviously, there's all sorts of answers they might come up with. So it's sweet.
So who should I schedule the meeting with?
Yeah, I'm fine.
With
either way.
Excel, you should probably do it since you like
Do member board, I guess.
with Excel. I used to work with her as well. Long
Thank
she
you.
was
Can
in
you
our
do too?
No, but very different. So no, we've been doing. this
I'm
before.
willing to do that.
I'll connect with you just on availability if I
Perfect.
schedule around.
Also within biodiversity, we had a habitat connectivity map meeting with GIS today. I gave them feedback mostly based off of our conversations we had at our April meeting. We're trying to move some information around so people know what they're doing before they're prompted to do it. We're gonna, for the time being, drop the potential corridor links layer altogether because it's just more noise, and it should be intuitive enough that there's 3 big green blobs that you're trying to bridge with your survey points. And they thought it was a great idea to have city green space already on the map as survey points because we can mark our private property, but basically there's nothing we could do for a city planter or park or any of that stuff. So small changes. They said they think they should be able to get through pretty quickly. Then I'm assuming they'll reach out again when it's adjusted, and hopefully we will have a biodiversity working group meeting where we can just kind of go over it a last time. I can give them final feedback and we can work out how and when we want to do press release, what kind of promotion, what we're doing down the road. So my target was still summer and coming up on summer.
Nice. That sounds great. Yeah, I can see the adjustments. That's, I think a good plan moving forward. So you should think about if when we want to like relaunch the habitat connectivity map. I think it would be like totally something that we want to try and do like a press release and like get some traction in the HT and like try and get the word out like pretty aggressively. Might as well. It's summertime. People are
And go
feeling
do a
the.
public comment at a city council.
Oh my goodness. But yeah, I think if you want to kind of think through anything that feels comfortable in that way, and then our larger group can kind of help support that too.
Well, if it's within GIS's timeline, they said soon, but they didn't say like when. But pollinator week is June 16th to the 22nd, so it's coming up.
It'd be
soon.
cool, but it's
Yeah.
might be aspirational.
Yeah.
Okay, that's great though. Okay.
Be asking, I don't know if you want to send out, I can't even remember who all is in biodiversity, but if you want to try to find a way, is us and Dave, I think it's a lot of people who are already here. But if you want to send out something to try to figure out a day so that we can get one between this and our June meeting.
Good idea.
And so it doesn't, I know you said you're away for a week and a half or so, it doesn't have to be right away, but before our June meeting. And that is all for biodiversity.
That's good. Water quality. Bum, bum, bum.
We had a meeting last week. There was a crossover meeting with the special projects team. It's awesome. But the big thing from the water quality meeting, we had Liz Carter from the city's MS4 coordinator, so runs the stormwater program for the city. She came and talked to us about continuing a theme, another state legislative bill that just passed and got signed into law that again kind of cuts us out needs. This one was about stormwater, basically permits for developing projects you guys can help me out with the details as I'm going here because my brain is cheese at the moment. But this is the law. This law basically says no governmental unit in the state can make permitting regulations more stringent than IDEM regulations. And there was I believe, paired bill that also passed through everything that said IDEM cannot have stormwater regulations that are more strict than EPA regulations right now, which are currently getting just repeatedly shipped. So, yeah, and when you know it, we just passed a big new stormwater ordinance through city council just last year that Liz had presented to us and they've been working on for a long time in her office. The big practical change this means is that projects that are under 1 acre cannot be permitted or like don't have to be permitted. So any like building project or anything that is like moving soil and impacting stormwater runoff that is less than 1 acre does not have to go through the municipal program for a permit anymore. Anything that's greater than 1 acre has to be permitted. And that has always been the case. But now any smaller projects are fully exempt. And the big thing Liz was saying is kind of the practical outcome of this is that permits were more or less like preventative measures, and also a way to like, you guys do this, or like you set up your developments in these ways so that we avoid any runoff and pollution to start with. And you can do offsets, things like that. Now the only option is basically reactive follow-up monitoring and fining and a lot more of enforcement on these projects. So just having to do a lot more watchdog stuff and making sure they're actually doing what they're supposed to be doing because there's not a permitting process to make sure everyone's on the same page before it starts. Does that seem about right for what Liz told us last?
Can I piggyback on what
Yes,
said?
please.
So, but she said, however, we will still be able to regulate illicit discharges. I'm hoping to start a campaign for folks to report illicit discharges to my team. Seems to me that the EC would be a good group with which to start. Essentially, it can't regulate erosion control, but we can conduct enforcement for sediment that leaves the site. So she wants people to be aware of what should be reported and who that should be reported to. So that's why she visited the water quality meeting just to explain the ramifications, how CDU plans to comply, and if any member of the EC observes an illicit discharge, report it to her team. So if you end up reporting that, let me know. Usually your report is a great place to start, but you know, it's definitely to her team.
Yeah, the city has a link and a tool, and that's one of those things. If we're doing outreach events now that we know this is the thing, now that we know it has to be enforcement, and there's only so many of them, it does help. Then if they know where to look if the bad things are happening. So
And Liz
yeah,
mentioned-
creating some kind of publicity on our end for that would be very helpful.
For sure. And Liz mentioned that mentioned that she had some material she'd already made, but I think that that sense of outreach and how can we make it clear if basically if you see something that is not good for the environment happening, write a report and get it onto someone's radar, and then it can go in and then they can fine or whatever, ticket, whatever it needs to be. But that it really, unfortunately, is going to be down to individuals or small whatever organizations calling out what they see after the fact and then having to clean it up, having to get it removed, having to get that taken care of. And it's
or it's something like happened with the fiber contractor where it's finding them until they literally go bankrupt.
So super productive, definitely the way that we like to fix things after the fact instead of prevent. But yeah, it's I think that our ability to, I know that we don't have like the best, like the strongest platform or microphone, but I think that if we can stitch it kind of into how we think about what we do and just knowing if there is a place for the EC there are some things that we can say when we are talking about other stuff. There's ways that we can, share those and encourage people to be involved. Yeah, it's a rough.
It was great. The other water quality thing we talked about, and this is specifically where the special projects overlap was, and it's something that is potentially related or could be tied into the stormwater runoff permitting issues is this Clean Water Act 319 grants. This is something that if you want to get into the nitty-gritty of the policy, we can't, or like what it's trying to do in the Clean Water Act, we can a little bit. But basically, this is money that goes from EPA to IDEM. IDEM solicits grants and gives them to local governments, community organizations, watershed groups, county soil and water conservation districts, anything like that that has a need and desire to implement non-point source pollution controls, basically, specifically looking for like nutrient pollution controls if possible. These grants are annual; they open up every year. So the call for proposals came relatively recently, and I put it on something that we're going to look at, think about, probably try and shoot for next year, assuming I think the target basins are the same. Most years, I think they're going to be the same for a while. And for Bloomington, and this is probably something where we need to collaborate with the county, just because the target basin would be for the one that we fall within is the north part of the city. So like Cascade Creek, Ricky Lake, the stuff that flows out into like Bean Blossom and the Mainston East River or the Mainston White River rather than the East Fork White River that all the stuff in the south part of the city goes to. But it's still a place where we'd be able to potentially get some money, get something for outreach or restoration projects. That's what a lot of it goes to.
Citizen science or whatever.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of options for what can happen. And this is, I think, some of the stuff where our next step, we're kind of read through the request for proposals a little more in detail and then start reaching out to the folks at IDEM that administer this program and asking some questions and getting some ideas of like what would a project in an urban area like this look like? What has like other cities done these kind of things? Or what kind of things could be applied for basically? And start trying to fine tune that and tie it all together and put something together for next year, hopefully. Because this year the deadline is
June and September.
Yeah, June is like we intend to submit something, and September is we have submitted it. But yeah, if we start getting things together and they're like, oh no, it's actually really the application, you can get it together by September, then maybe. But I prefer having a long goal.
I personally thought that was a good idea, just because I know we try to do what we can, but time moves so quickly, and we have monthly meetings as like the cadence for we're all together. It does. Time goes so fast, and I would hate to scramble on something that could be really valuable and important. I would hate to submit an application that was less than what we could do just because we were moving too quickly. And this is new for us. So. Yeah.
I forgot to put Bean Team on the agenda.
Yeah, I was gonna get to that.
Okay, I'll leave it then.
Any questions about that or any thoughts or anything? Sounds great. Yeah. Cool. Great. Thanks. Thanks for sharing that. And then the special projects. The other thing is that IDEM sent through a grant. I think it has a pretty quick turnaround though, but it's a super duper quick turnaround. But it's about recycling. It says so. The specific language that stood out was that must show a need an increase in recycled material collection or utilization, reduction in municipal solid waste shipped for final disposal, or improved partnerships with communities, including economic impacts and increased public awareness of recycling opportunities. So I think I would love to hear what folks have as kind of their first thoughts on this as a topic. Again, this came out like a week ago and it's due in like, so it's really, really fast. But thinking about the I think it's interesting that we need to have an understanding of the changing economy for recyclers and look where money can be effectively to increase statewide recycling because recycling is such a complicated industry at this point in time. Yeah, I'd love to hear if people have initial thoughts on if we approach this or not.
And I'm assuming they have a very specific idea of what they mean by recycling. Composting would not be included.
I I don't believe so. I don't think I saw anything about.
It's like, because I think we could easily make an argument. Like, I think that's that item.
I think on Bicos, Matt Austin would be the person I would pass this along to, because he's been doing a lot of everything from waste to compost to recycling, pushing for years now. So I think if there was an obvious project, I could forward that to him and see if he can turn something around in time, because I have no idea what we would apply it to at the moment.
Well, where does Bloomington send its recycling? The city.
Kind of far away.
Because I know. I can't remember. I know sends it to Cincinnati. So, which is like really far away.
And not in state.
Yeah, and it's not in the same state. So I actually think that one could write a grant that talks about a sort of proximity of. I mean, these are of course just serving facilities, but proximity of those and.
Well, I know he's been pushing to try to get the city to switch to Grumpy for a while. Because
Yeah,
it's
that's
considerably
Cincinnati.
closer and than where they're sending it, and because you can include some materials that Republic doesn't take.
It's interesting because this who can apply includes higher education institutions, but I assume that IU's contracts go very, very, very deep.
That
Yeah.
No, yeah, so IU uses Rocky.
it's my understanding that the city uses Republic and that it's even farther away.
So it sounds like no one is saying that this feels like something we should act quickly on, but maybe pass it on to the sustainability.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'd be happy to forward it just in case they know of something that they'd be.
Yeah, they've been talking about or something.
Because I do not.
And I know we don't really have like a waste management working group or anything exactly, so it would need to fall something. And then if we got the grant, it'd need to have its own working group to handle whatever is happening because of it. So that's a big
special project.
No. Okay. Any extra thoughts on this? Okay. Sounds like a pass for the EC, but we will forward it to Bicos. And I do think it's really helpful for us to have these conversations though, and really think like, is this within an appropriate scope for us? Are there others that would benefit from, being looped in if they don't already know about it? And then is there a world where like collaboration would be an avenue to make this happen? But I think it's okay for us to pass on this. Great. Well,
To collaboration.
Okay, so I think we're on now to staff update. So I will pass it over to our liaison.
Let's see where I put this up. Okay. Parks is doing things for Pollinator Week. I think I gave the dates earlier, but around the week of June 15th. They have several events, so they're doing a pollinator planting workshop on June 14th with a member or a staff member of U.S. Fish and Wildlife. They are also going to be doing stuff at the downtown Monroe County Public Library. They're doing a native landscaping class on June 16th. And then link to registers there with the packets. Trees as pollinators on June 17th, and you're going to have a tree expert there to help communicate how trees help pollinators, how you grow new seeds. Pollinator Garden Maintenance Day on June 21st in the morning. Let's see. And then Pollinator Week at the Lilly Library. So that's going to be on June 25th. Try and handle some solving some puzzles. Any questions about Pollinator Week?
Are we sharing that in our social account?
I can ask.
Yeah, that's nice. I think it's for pollinator week that
Mhm.
feels like a nice nudge towards like the Bee City says being an appropriate place for us to land. So no pun intended.
I assume Parks is going to do stuff, so I can touch base with their social media coordinator and see if that stuff. Second update is ESD at the Climate Action Team meeting last month. They presented that a couple of their grant opportunities are open. So they have a ton of information on their websites. I tried to make it more succinct, but it's still a bit of information. The solar energy and efficiency and lighting grant program is open. So this helps nonprofits, community organizations, and small businesses with their building efficiency. I think, yes, the energy efficiency project is closed, but they are still taking solar and battery projects applications.
Do you know if those are for owned buildings?
Instead of like a company
Like a
leasing
nonprofit
building.
renting a space or something?
I would assume some sort of agreement would need to be needed from the owner,
Mhm.
but I'm not sure if the owner has to apply.
Gotcha.
I would think an MOU would, be
Mhm.
sufficient, something like that. Bloomington Green Home Improvement Program. So this is for residents. And Jolie Perry from ESC made like a really cool chart showing how much people can save depending on what their income is and how much one of these energy efficiencies cost. I think the example, I don't want to be quoted on this, so I will say this publicly, maybe not. I think she gave the example of a $20,000 solar project. If somebody making under $50,000 a year could have like $19,000 of that covered. So pretty sufficient grant opportunities here. So I included the link. It's linkedin.gov/sustainability/grants. They have some other grant opportunities, but the other ones are currently closed. These are currently open. So Joey Perry or Sean Dia would be the best people to contact if you have questions about either of those grants. And then I can't remember if I added this to the agenda. If I did, I'll wait. But the Earth Day 2026 date was announced. So no, I don't have it. So I will just give that update as well. Earth Day 2026 will be April 18th of next year. We had a meeting where the organizers talked about kind of successes and challenges. One of the biggest challenges seemed to be like audio. It was either the room was really loud and the audio was really soft. So there was a decision that like the band would not be inside next year. If it rains, there just would not be a band. And then it was discussed, okay, well, if there's no band, do we need a stage? I advocated that would still want to do their award ceremony. So I think the consensus was that you guys can do the award ceremony, you just may not be heard if it's loud. So they asked if it would be better to have like some sort of presentation showing like all the different submissions and stuff. And I think next year we'll be a little bit more organized on how everything works. I wanted to get any thoughts.
Just put in a request for good weather ahead of time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I actually note to shoehorn in the eco hero thing on the biodiversity talking points, but we had the eco hero ceremony. It was very nice. People came, and the Earth Day celebration was pretty active, considering that it was almost raining all day long. And Adam was a huge help. He was there the whole time. He did all sorts of useful things. It was very, very helpful. And Nadia was there, and Casey was there for a lot of it too. So that was great. And then when we did the actual ceremony, Christy Lindbergh and Linda Thompson helped because we didn't have enough bodies to like do all the different stuff. So it was like one person with the bags, and one person taking pictures, and one person whatever the other stuff was. But yeah, it went really well, and the audio was obviously a challenge, but it was good. But crap, now I lost my train of thought. We have photos, so I took photos of all the submissions.
Okay.
Can we put those on the website so that way it can be like,
Yeah.
okay, I will send you the files for all those, and then the lighting was wild, but if you have any photos to send, maybe just send this to you as well. You can.
I'll just send like the back of someone's.
Then if we can put on social media to kind of do like a little recap would be. So. And then I just made it for myself to start talking about the heroes in September, so that we can be really, 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 really. Sorry, thank you for letting me interrupt with my eco heroes. Right. Anything else?
I think that's all I have.
Well, then we're on to the report section. So we can jump in. Dave, you have anything to share from Tree Commission or ERAC? We would welcome it.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, Tree Commission met on April 21st and they're meeting again.
So can you mute us while he's talking so that way it doesn't give him feedback? Yes, I'm so sorry.
They're meeting again next Monday. Anyway, in their April 21st meeting, Haskell talked about how the street department is working through various removals. They took out 2 trees at building trades. Haskell's group has pruned about 500 trees so far. There've been grinding green waste at the nursery. They've given away about 400 seedlings, mostly at a garden fair. There's been a forager's forest planting, and that's done with the help of the Girl Scouts, and they're planting pecans, I guess. And there was a tree appreciation event at Bryan Park the week after this meeting. Then there was no report from the university because Mia Williams wasn't there. And there was a report from Canopy Bloomington by Julie Roberts. And she talked about many trees had been planted. So that's basically what happened. Nothing from ERAC. The science committee of Friends of Lake Monroe met with only 3 people there. I wasn't there, and they didn't accomplish much. So that's about all I can tell you about those things.
Excellent. Thank you, Dave. Thanks for all the updates on everything.
Bowing out.
Great. Anything from Becos?
Yeah, I watched the meeting. They shared their 2025 priorities, which were housing and urban agriculture was one. And the second was education, outreach, and coalition building. So kind of crammed a lot into each of those 2 bullet points. They sort of gave each member like homework assignments for the month, basically, to think of the top topics or issues that they'd like to see progress on, and send it to the chair. So that way they can come up with something actionable down the road. And then they adopted their annual report at the end. So we weren't the only ones working on our annual report here.
Sounds good. Great. And then anything from MC Iris?
Yeah, so usually they would have met yesterday, but they postponed the meeting until next Wednesday. On May 21st, they are meeting at Upland Brewery at 10 a.m. For a weed wrangle. So they will cut and treat Asian bush honeysuckle and winter creeper vines for about an hour and a half. Tools and gloves will be provided. And then at 11:30, they are going to Upland Brewery and having lunch together. So that's the update I have. I don't know anything else other than that about NC Iris other than Ellen J. Cart's coming to City Hall. I've organized for her to come in and give staff invasive species identification training. So we'll be doing that.
Nice, sounds fun. Okay. Alright. Great.
I'm gonna stop share in preparation for commissioner announcements while I pull up my email.
Alright. Great, well, commissioner announcements then, is there anything from anyone in this group that they'd like to share?
Have an announcement. Bloom Magazine is doing a little write-up about eco heroes and the winners in their upfront section of their June/July issue, so that's pretty cool.
That's cool. Did they get the information on the winners?
I sent them what I had.
Okay, so you're in communication with them, is what you're saying, okay. Well, that's nice for those lucky winners. Okay, you said what issue is that for?
June/July.
Nice. I wonder if it's gonna be like, if the issue itself is gonna have like an environmental, like slant to it or an art slant or.
Yeah, admittedly, I'm not very familiar with the magazine. I just imagine that they have some. I mean, it said the upfront section, so I'd imagine there's some blurbs and some what's going on and stuff at the beginning, and they would just be in there. But that's just my imaginings, because I don't actually know.
Okay. Other updates from folks? It's not an update, but Mitchell led a great little walk for our Welcome to Wastelands thing, and it was fun and educational and informative and.
It was really great. So whenever the next one of these Walking the Wasteland things come up, I highly recommend checking it out.
We're hoping to do a rewilding quarry in August, probably. But it was great.
Yes,
Yeah,
it was awesome.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I have both forms of Mitchell.
Oh, great. Okay, bonus report. The Clean Community Program had its first meeting on April 25th. Rachel and I were there. So this is the item program that basically like gives us a certification for doing good environmental things. And yeah, this first meeting was mostly getting everyone that the city, I think Liz Carter is the one kind of running point for the city on it. So she was getting everyone that she knew of to be involved in one room. There's a lot of people from the utilities department, a lot of people from parks, me for the EC, Rachel for her job with planning. There was Isabel P. Smith was there. Big group. But it was, and the person from IDEM who runs the Clean Community Program was also there, and she's apparently Bloomington local. But she gave a rundown of the program, was there to help answer any questions, things like that. The big thing we tried to accomplish was going through the list. The big thing with Clean Community Program is you move up the ranks. You start once just applying basically, and getting started gets you in at a bronze tier city. And you move up to silver and gold by doing projects. And there's a list of projects. I think they said Bloomington, there was a point of contention about, we don't know whether, because the students technically count the population of the city, but we weren't sure if they should count in terms of like this kind of stuff, because IU is its own kind of separate domain.
apart from the city, especially in terms of all this kind of stuff, so they're gonna look into it. So we will either have to do 4 or 6 projects for each tier. So, and looking at the list of projects, the first steps was basically breaking into subgroups and identifying which of these projects we've already done.
And those still count though.
That will,
Within 3 years?
within 3 years was the timeline, because that was the one that came up of like, we have a climate action plan 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Tree City is actually one that I think we could probably, because that's one that has to get
Oh, the
renewed
renewal.
annually. We
Okay.
did ask about that, and she asked, like, do you have to renew it? And we said, yes. So that one counts. This is something where we might be able to get B City to count. So as far as these groups go, I'm on the environmental management group. Rachel's in land use conservation. I told them we should probably have somebody from the EC on that first community resiliency group. Colby, I did not point you out by name, but I was,
Good.
because I didn't want to volunteer you, but you did come to mind. But if anyone else would like to do it, I think it would be very good, because that one dovetails a lot with stuff that we do and we care about, and that's already kind of our priorities. So I feel like we should have someone on that group in particular, and Liz was very open to adding more people, because there was also a couple of groups where I was like, you should have someone from Becos here, and she's like, that would be great. I just don't know any of them yet, so.
Can you just go down on the left again?
Yeah, so it's, what is it? Just these 6 groups is all of the groups of projects. And I think Rachel could forward this to you guys if you'd like, but it's. Yeah, basically just trying to get an inventory of what all of these we've done. And what all of these would be easy to accomplish or that we want to accomplish. There's also talk of like, oh, we probably already have like 8 to 12 of these already done. Have you guys thought of adding extra tiers? And she was like, we have thought about that. So maybe we can talk about that if you guys do all this, because there's a lot of stuff that was like, these are things we would like to do, but, or anyway, and this would give us a good kind of kickstart to doing them, especially a lot of the like thriving local economies ones, which the IDEM person was also saying like, no one's really taken us up on those yet, so it'd be awesome if you did. And I know Isabel was kind of leading, she was the one who got put in charge of that group because she was very, very into that. But yeah, so if any of you guys want to be the community resiliency rep, or if you would like to volunteer one of the people that aren't here to do it. Yeah, but I guess me and Rachel know, and we can pass names on to Liz and she can pass them on to, I don't remember who's leading. It was somebody from Parks that was leading that particular group, I think, so. Yeah, and we didn't really establish how many, I think, yeah, it's gonna be like, the subgroup leads are gonna take the head of like organizing the next meetings and figuring out. Don't really know how often we need to meet as like a full many person collective, but I think the subgroups are probably going to be what meets more regularly. Don't really know what regularly is yet, but
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That sounds great. Well, I'm always ready to join things, so feel free to put my name on the list if there's a name that's not on the list and we're missing a name on the list and we need a name on the list. Then if there's a blank spot, but I don't need to take up the spot if it's not blank. Hypothetically speaking, this was great fun. That's great. That's a really cool update. That's really exciting. And I know that Bloomington is historically showed a lot of excitement and commitment to a lot of these initiatives. So it's fun that there's another way that's bringing more of the state together and letting us explore what else we can do. Because I know that we feel really good about what we do, but.
Yeah, and I think there's a handful of cities at the bronze level, there's not very many at silver, and I think there's only like maybe 1 or 2 at gold. And so if we got to that level, that'd be really cool. And then if we got even higher than that, then we can just kind of.
It seemed like
Ask it to stay.
Seemed like we were already easily at silver and maybe
Very
already at gold.
Yeah, if they don't count the student population for the city, I think we're at gold. If they do, then we probably have to do a little bit
Well, if they do, then we should draw in someone from like Office of Sustainability, because they're doing all sorts of stuff
Yes.
too,
Yeah.
and just add that to your
Yeah,
list.
and I think
So,
that that's probably something that
Mhm.
they have on their radar as well. Like if IU gets counted in the population, we need them on
Yeah.
it, because they probably have a lot of these projects as well.
That's awesome. Do you know, this is just an anecdotal question, do you know if for things like Tree City and Bird Town and all that, are there people from Bloomington that go and speak to other towns or other cities, sustainability departments or just city departments to say like, this is how we do it, this is what we do, this is what it benefits, and like get the word out to or help, I don't know, give more insights to how easy or difficult or whatever it is to have these statuses? Do you know if anybody from the city
I don't
does
know
that?
anybody.
It's an interesting idea though. I mean, just
Yeah.
like surrounding cities like Nashville. Yeah, exactly.
That was actually something very interesting that they brought up with the Clean Community Program. Brown County is a member, Nashville is not.
Oh, weird.
So like she was talking about how that's
Surprised by
been
that.
a weird thing they have to work, because they can't count anything the city of Nashville does. It's just a donut hole in the middle of the rest of the county, because everything else counts. But because we were trying to figure out, because we had some people from like sanitary from the county, and we're like, what counts as in the city, basically. And that was one, because for Bloomington, basically like the same way, like our membership has to be from people that live in the city limits. She was like, the project needs to at least be happening in city limits for it to count.
Which is a very different.
Because there was like one thing with like, what was it, the old like dump or something
Yeah.
like that, like because like they've been doing work with the old dump. But it's outside of the city limits, even though that's where all the city trash went.
Mhm.
They
It's
were-
like,
Talking about maybe extrapolating like city population versus county population, so I think they're maybe doing some math there.
It's a little
Mhm.
complicated that way,
Yeah.
yeah.
Also, are you guys all familiar with Project 46? If not, okay, I've seen some yes and some no's. Project 46 was kind of spearheaded from the previous administration before a partnership between Bloomington, Nashville, and Columbus.
yeah.
So that kind of going off of what Carrie was talking about, I think it'd be interesting. I think it's not a dead thing. I think ESC is reviving it. So it would be interesting to communicate with like Nashville and Columbus. I don't know what certifications either community has or not.
or even just like equivalents to our group
Mhm.
of like, that would be nice to
Yeah.
see what other people are doing.
If we were to do that, what would be the steps to do that? Like to, even if Project 46 isn't super active right now. If those relationships have already been established, or those, I'm sure contacts have already been established. If that was something we said, we'd love to get in touch and find out, or if we are, we're pursuing this, and I don't know if these communities are, but. Rising tides is all like, share our experiences or whatever it is that may need to be. What would be the next step for that, do you think?
I think ESC kind of is the keeper of that contact information, or at least that relationship.
Okay.
So I would probably encourage meeting with them. I can find out who the contact would be.
Yeah.
I think it might be Jody or Sean,
Okay.
but not 100%. And then kind of seeing what ideas they already have in mind, just so we're not reinventing the wheel.
Yeah.
Because I think they are trying to, just revive it a little bit, so.
It's been months and months, but I vaguely remember the County Environmental Commission having some conversation about Project 46. I don't know what the details of that were, if it was about, greenhouse gas inventory, or, I don't know if it's related to exactly what you're talking about here. I remember it being discussed in that setting in some capacity.
And the Cleveland County is now the Resiliency Commission, the Climate Resiliency Commission, they rebranded.
Yep.
Gotcha. Do you know, does the Clean Community Project have population requirements?
The population requirements, she didn't give us the exact brackets, but that was basically how many, like the 4 to 8 projects was like how many you had to do was determined by like where you fit in population size, like small city, mid-size Indianapolis.
So like Nashville, we could still have a connection with them, and it's not like we're having totally separate conversations, it's just that they would be doing.
Yeah, it's the same project.
Okay.
It's just like,
Okay.
yeah, different number you would have to do, basically. Yeah,
Cool.
the bigger the city, the more resources you have, the
Mhm.
more you can do.
It'd
I
be
think
really,
it's the idea behind it.
it'd be really interesting to just think about even like the cities that are with, or the towns or cities that are within, I don't know, 50-mile radius that might be a good, you know, an easy or good fit to sort of open these conversations.
Spencer.
Spencer is what I was thinking, actually, yeah, so. Yeah. It's cool. What's party time?
About to adjourn, so I feel bad that she's gonna go.
They should have to stop their party.
Yeah.
Just turn it down for some views, fine, yeah. Cool, well, I think that sounds, I mean, I think that sounds really exciting, and I love when groups come together on similar stuff and spread the
Oh,
word.
yeah, at least they might have updated it since then, but based on the current website, there are no gold tier clean community program.
Holy smokes,
city.
we should be the first.
Yeah. So silver tier is currently Beech Grove, Brown County, Fishers, Richmond, okay, and Zionsville. Richmond is where I was born, where my family is from. I have a complex relationship with it.
Like, we are the first gold.
Yeah, that would be very cool.
Yeah, you're right, look at that. Okay. Okay. Okay, cool. I think that's really exciting, yeah, if I mean, I would be super happy to, you know, talk to whoever it is, Sean or Julie or somebody, to say. I mean, we're obviously like going down this road to begin with, but also it'd be kind of interesting to find out if step one, there are other environmental bodies happening in some of these, you know, other cities that might make sense for us to connect with. And then specifically as it applies to that.
And I can see, you know, if they would be open, I'll see if, you know, they can put it all in an email so I can share. If they wanna have a conversation, maybe that's, I invite them to a special projects for a group.
Yeah.
Or
Honestly, it'd be great to, even if they came to a full,
full group.
yeah,
Yeah.
just like Liz or
Yeah,
Chrissy, because I think
Mhm.
Liz was. Sounded like she was going to the first meeting, then trying to push off as
Yes.
much on Christy as she could.
Yeah, sounds great. Cool. Well, thank you for
Or
bringing that up.
since she lives in Bloomington, we could try and talk to.
yeah.
The person from, and then whose name I cannot remember.
She on the email. Melissa Shaber.
That sounds right.
Yeah.
What's that?
That's a name.
I'll reach out to Jolie and Sean on Monday. To see what we can do.
Sounds good. Any other commissioner announcements? Nothing? Jana? No. I love hearing that, you know, like.
Vacations, for summer.
We're having an EC summer vacation. We're all going together. It's gonna be really intense, but we will have quorum, so we do need to be on task the whole time. Just kidding. Yeah, that's a great point. Summers get complicated. Obviously, we're already down a few members in our May meeting, which means I suspect June, which is a week later, July, and August may be tough.
I think I'm going to be gone in July.
Okay? Does anybody else know for sure if they have availability? Not that we don't want to meet when you're available, Mitchell, but. Any reason we might consider a separate date for July or August?
The June one is on the 26th.
Yeah,
I'm good for all of those.
okay. Great,
If something changes, just let me know.
yeah. Ideally, as early as possible. Okay, great. Anything else from anyone else?
A motion we adjourn.
A second.
Just a second, excellent, well, it's 7:49, 11 minutes shy. of
Recording
the full
stopped.
extent Of the.